love another talk with you over coffee. You always look so great, like a movie star frame.
Hi everyone. So today I'm chatting with Joy about weddings and books. So Joy, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us where you are and about your books.
Okay, so my name's Joy. I publish under the name Joy Vee, that's Vee, and I write Christian children's books to help children know that their greatest adventure is with Jesus as their best friend. And so I've got 7 books, I think, out right now.
See, even you can't keep track of many.
Oh, then there's translations and there's omnibuses and kids' church resources and all sorts of fun stuff too. So yeah, 7 novels, got a couple more coming out, hopefully later this year, a couple more that I'm writing as well. So that's me.
Brilliant. And who are you married to?
So I'm married to my husband, which is good.
Sure.
I know.
You're not the first person to tell me that.
It's quite nice. So he's called Andrei, and he's actually Ukrainian.
Okay, so how did you and Andrei meet?
So we met when I was living in Ukraine. So we live in England right now. We've lived in lots of places, but I moved out to Ukraine when I was about 23. I had dreams of changing the world, and I met him about 5 years later. And so we got married out there, had our first child out there, and then came back to the UK.
Okay. So tell us what a Ukrainian wedding is like.
Okay, so we didn't have a traditional, we didn't have any kind of, there was no traditions in our wedding at all. We kind of just picked the bits we liked from each kind. And so a traditional Ukrainian wedding would be 2 or 3 days long. You would go to the ZACs, it's called, it's like your town hall, where you'd go and do the official celebration, the official bits. And then you go in your big dress and you have photos taken all over the city with all your bridesmaids and groomsmen. And then you might go to the village or to the area where your parents live and your grandparents have a big meal. And to be fair, we didn't want any of that. I'm not the most photogenic person in the world. I think I have a good voice for podcasts and radio.
And Marks and Spencer's adverts.
That's right. Just an ordinary voice, the Marks and Spencer's voice. But I'm certainly not a Marks and Spencer's face. So the idea of going and having my photograph taken all over the city, and as well, you know, in the season, in the wedding season, they're queued up. You know, the brides,
wow.
Just all queued up, and they're all like really young. They're like 18, and I wasn't 18. When I married my husband, I was about 10 years older. And so quite frankly, watching Granny in the queue, having her photos done was never going to be a good idea. So jinx that idea. We went for a church wedding. Now our church didn't own its building. So usually people would hire out different churches. But I had a better idea. I thought we could get married in the garden at the school where I worked. So I worked in an international school and we had a beautiful, I think it was an apple tree that was in blossom and a gazebo. And I'm like, let's get married in front of the gazebo under the apple tree. And that way, because I really wanted to invite the children from school and our church friends, we kind of wanted everybody to come. So we chose this location. And then, so instead of gifts, we asked for people to bring buffet food and we all sat around and had a buffet afterwards. So it was very untraditional. We had some traditional elements. So they have, it's called a karavai. It's a beautiful bread. So it doesn't look like a bread. It's rounded and then it's got these beautiful little like birds and leaves done in a kind of white dough. So it's a dark dough bread and then this white dough on top of all these intricate little creatures and leaves and everything like that. And it's the parents present it to you and it's got salt on it. And so we had that little part of the service, a kind of nod to the Ukrainian bit. And my dad walked me down the aisle, so that was a nod to the English bit. But the rest of it was totally us, really.
Yeah. Nice. That's funny because I have seen you've posted wedding photos on social media before, and I just assumed you got married in England because it was quite a traditional looking wedding photo. So yeah, it's fun to hear all like what actually happens.
Yeah, it was a lot more fun in
Yeah, yeah.
Korea.
So did you have bridesmaids?
I did. I had 2 bridesmaids. So
Mhm.
my 2 best friends, Anya and Ira.
Mhm.
So Anya had lived with me for a while, and Ira and I had gone through the adventure of getting married together at the same time, and so natural choices.
Nice.
Yeah. hmm
And did you have quite a lot of people come over from England to be part of it, or was it mostly your Ukrainian life that was there?
It was mostly my Ukrainian life. We had our 2 lots of best friends came over. So one's Ukrainian anyway, Marina and her
Mhm.
husband Tim came over. And then Esther and Benj came over too. Um, and they came with us to the Zax to the town hall to actually do the registration. They
Okay.
were the only couple with us in the morning, was our English friends,
Okay.
Benj
Yeah.
and Esther. Um, and then we went for breakfast. And so we'd organized that we were going to get married in the garden. And I didn't have a plan B, because when I was preparing it and I prayed and I said, God, do I need to book a hall for a plan B? I just felt him say, no, it's fine. I've got it. I know the person in charge of the weather. So I was like, it's going to be great. We get up in the morning, we go to the town hall and we sign all the paperwork and we do the official ceremony. And then we go out for breakfast at like a little Mexican kind of restaurant. And it's raining. And Andre's like, we've just got married, we're just legally married, and he goes, it's raining. We don't have a plan B. He said, this is what happens when you trust God. And I thought, where's your faith? I just married you. Right? No kidding. It rained everywhere in Kiev that day, apart from in the garden where we got married. It was the only
Oh.
place where the sun shone in the whole city.
Oh.
That is what happens when you trust God. And so uh,
A very valuable lesson for Andrew right from the start of the wedding.
start as you mean to go on.
Yeah. So, did anything go wrong in the planning or on the day?
It was 45 minutes late. I don't think that was particularly wrong. No, I don't have a problem with that. When I watched the video back, people were still arriving. In fact, when I pulled up, people were still arriving. So
Wow.
I think if I'd been there on time, there'd have been quite a few of us walking down the aisle. So
Yeah.
I'm quite fine with that. But he says that was a problem. Um, because it was damp everywhere, it took a while to get our hairs to curl. We wanted the hair to curl and to stay in, and so
Right.
that's why
Okay.
it took us so long. Um, so no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
really.
Simon's funny. We went to a wedding of a really good friend, and she was half an hour late. And we'd been staying in a little B&B somewhere, and they had these little packets, like the custard cream packets, and you get like 4 like really cheap
Mhm.
custard creams in these little plastic packs. So I picked all the ones up that were in a room at the B&B and put them in my bag when we went to the wedding. So because like there was a group of us who were all friends and we're all sitting waiting and everyone was starting to get hungry, so I'm passing along the custard creams and everyone's like, woohoo, this is great. And
Wedding
then
breakfast. Mhm.
went to another wedding where the bride was actually a couple of minutes early. Now, timekeeping is not our best thing, right? So we were rushing at the very last minute. But she was a couple of minutes early and she went in just as we were parking the car and there was other people who were still arriving. They locked the doors and we couldn't get into the wedding. So we like we stood outside the church for half an hour while the wedding was happening. We missed the whole ceremony.
Wow. I must say I have run into a wedding before so late that we got there just as they were saying, does anyone have any reason why? And we were actually supposed to be singing at the wedding as well.
So did you make a noisy entrance when they said, "Is there any reason?"
Let's just say nobody missed our entrance. Should we put it that way?
Yes, time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then there was the fact that Andre had literally got in. So we got engaged in the November, and he then moved in January out to Russia to get a job.
Okay.
So we only saw each other about 3 times while we were engaged. And so I hadn't seen him for about 6 weeks before the wedding. We'd done the paperwork when I'd last seen him. And so really I'd been in charge of running how we're going to do it. And this was before we had cheap phone calls. So a phone call, you know, a 10-minute phone call would be $100, you know, international phone call. So everything was on email, and even email was, you know, your dial up from an internet cafe. So it's quite hard to do a long distance relationship like that. So I had planned the wedding, and then he hadn't really been listening to me when I told him what was going to happen when. And so quite a few of our pictures are us going, no, that's not what's going to happen now. Now this is going to happen. And he's like, what? Why? You didn't tell me this. And yes, I told you this is going to happen. So, you know, just little bits like that. But it just added to the fun.
Yeah.
That was my aim, really, was that we had a good time, and that we were relaxed, and that our guests were relaxed as well. So that is what I was aiming for.
Cool. So if he was working in Russia, so once you were married, did you move to Russia then?
Yes. So we had to get our documents done very quickly, and I worked for an international school, which meant I knew people at the embassy. Very useful. They came to our wedding, handed off the paperwork, so that while we were in our Ukrainian honeymoon for 4 days, they could quickly sort me out a new passport. And so we then emigrated to we moved to Russia, and lived in Russia for 7 months before moving back to Ukraine again.
Okay. And then how long were you in Ukraine before you moved to UK?
1.5 years, I think.
Okay.
February 1 year, and then October the following year we left.
Okay. And have you been in the UK since then?
Yeah. So we lived in Lincolnshire for a while, and then we've just finished 7 years in exile in Scotland. And so we just come back to Lincolnshire from Scotland.
Yeah. The first time me and Joy met, it was at the Glow bookshop in Motherwell. And as soon as we met, it was friendship at first sight.
It was author friendship / support.
Yes.
And I don't think I would be here today if it wasn't for this woman here.
No. Get Joy's books. They're awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joy, for chatting about your wedding and your unusual wedding. Everyone's on weddings I'm talking to. They're really unusual. It's so fun.
I think you just have unusual friends.
I do. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I know.
Nice friends to have.
Yeah. Right, well, thank you so much, and speak soon.
Talk soon. Bye.
I'd love another talk with you over coffee. You always look so great, like a movie star.